Konnichiwa. Nihon Kriketo Podcast to yokoso. Boku no namae wa Alan desu. I think that even those who have never heard a word of Japanese before can understand that. But just in case, hello and welcome to the Japan Cricket Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Kerr, and on this show, I will speak to the people who have played a role in the shaping of cricket in Japan, both on and off the field. Hello, listeners, and welcome to the final episode of Season 1 of the Japan Cricket Podcast. It has been a long, tiring, tricky season, but here we sit on a cold December day, having got all the competitions finished and the awards handed out. So, to look back on the season, there was no one better to ask onto the podcast this week. A man who needs no introduction because he's been on the podcast before. Mr. Dhugal Bedingfield, welcome back.
Thanks, Alan. It's a shame you couldn't find anyone better for your last episode of the year.
I know.
You're stuck with me again.
I searched high and low. We were doing this interview in person, which is always a rarity. It makes me kind of nervous. I never know what's going to happen. All sorts of things could take place. But we sat in the JCA commentary box overlooking the SICG. We're seeing the turf wicket that's undergoing some work. So a pretty good spot on a clear winter day. Fuji off in the distance. So Dukes, you're here today in your role more as community cricket manager than as Chiba Sharks captain. So it kind of makes sense to start with your origin story. You've been in Japan a fair old while.
Sounds like I'm a superhero, mate.
I know. We're bigging you up. So how did you end up in Japan? And how long have you been here?
I don't know. It was so long ago, mate. I'll
Just so the memory's
have
gone.
to delve into my memory bag or make something up. But it was 2004. Can you believe it? When I first
My word.
flew in here, I was just a baby, mate.
I don't think the JCL existed in 2004, did it?
No, probably not. I remember being on the plane. I'd never come to Japan before. I didn't know a single person in Japan, and I didn't speak the language. And I'm on the plane, about to land in Narita, thinking, "Oh my God, what am I doing? Like, literally, what am I doing here?" So it's a bit of a scary experience at the time, but also it was a really good one for me too. So I made a lot of new friends very, very quickly, and really embraced living in Japan back then. Initially, I'd gotten a job as an English teacher, which at the time, Japan was just throwing these jobs at Aussies, Kiwis, Americans, Brits to come over and teach a bit of English. There was so much demand for it. So I ended up landing myself a job there and just kind of jumping into a new life in Japan, which was really enjoyable, actually.
And you are in Chiba, is that right?
Yeah, I was just randomly stationed in a place called Funabashi, basically between Funabashi and Tsudanuma, for those who know the area. And I was just randomly stationed there in an apartment with another Aussie guy and an English guy, all similar age and similar zest for life, if you like. And yeah, we had a lot of fun.
So how many years were you in Japan for that first stint?
I was here 2004 to 2008, so just over 4 years in the first stint.
And you played with the cricket?
Yeah, I did. But I have to admit, when I came to Japan, I had absolutely no intention of playing cricket whatsoever. I'd come from a cricket environment in Melbourne where cricket was a huge part of my life, but it was almost like I was subconsciously trying to get away from that a little bit by coming to Japan, a totally new environment for me. And actually, my goal was to join a soccer team because a bit like yourself in Britain, you grew up playing a lot of sports. So I wasn't just a cricketer. I played a lot of soccer and Aussie rules footy as well. So coming to Japan, I thought, well, I'm young, I'm fit. I want to play something at a pretty decent level. So Aussie rules football, no. Cricket, definitely no. So I joined a soccer team and we played in the Tokyo Metropolis League, Sala FC it was, for those soccer fans out there. And yeah, had a great time playing soccer, but yeah, did not intend to play cricket.
And that was your initial social circle then, was your Solar FC mates, and they're still a big part of your life now.
Yep.
So how do you end up involved with the Chiba Sharks, who are your other core group, I guess?
Yeah, it was pretty random, mate. Bit of backstory. My first 2 months in Japan, I had set myself a personal rule, if you like, that if anyone asked me to do anything, I had to say yes. It was like the Jim Carrey movie.
Like the Danny Wallace book.
Yeah. And I was at work one day and I got a call. And when you get a call on the work phone, it's never good. So
That's why I don't answer.
but no. So I'm thinking, who? Oh no, what have I done? It's probably someone from head office. I'm going to be sacked. Anyway, on the other end of the phone,
That call came later.
yeah. Later in the day, yeah. It's this Aussie bloke with a husky voice. And he says, "G'day, you're Dhugal, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah, that's me, mate. Who are you?" He said, "This is Nick." And then his next line was, "You play cricket, don't you?"
It's like, oh no, secret's out.
I'm thinking, who is this guy? And how on earth would he know anything? So I said, "Yeah, mate, play a little bit." And he said, "Do you want to play on Sunday?" And I had to say yes. Every part of me wanted to say no, but I had to say yes. And his next line was, "Okay, be at Cheaper Station at 6 a.m. on Sunday. We'll pick you up." I just thought, oh no, this sounds horrible. Anyway, I had to do it. I rolled out of the pub at 2 a.m. on Saturday evening and got about 2 hours sleep and then got up and headed to Cheaper Station. And I get out of the station and there's two rough looking blokes, a Kiwi and a Canadian, and they're drinking haposhu outside the station at like 6 a.m.
Alarm bells are ringing.
And haposhu, is like, I can't believe it's not beer.
Yeah.
For those who want to get drunk on a budget, so to speak. And I kind of approached him. I said, are you in the cricket team? Unfortunately, they said yes. But I ended up getting in the car with 3 other Aussie blokes whose names were Dave Lolback, Chris Thurgate, and Nick Crease, who had been the man with a husky voice on the other end of the phone. I shared a 4-hour car ride to Shizuoka with these guys.
Drove it. Jeez.
Yeah.
You got on the train.
This wasn't Fuji. This is beyond Fuji. This was Shizuoka. We used to play at Shizuoka in this tiny, beautiful ground with a flicks pitch. Anyway, we get there. We're playing against this team of very excited Pakistani gentlemen. And the umpire, you can't make this up either. It's my first game of cricket in Japan. The umpire's French. And immediately I'm thinking, this is not just alarm bells are ringing. Like,
This is going to be different.
Nothing against the French, of course. I love the people, but I'm thinking French umpire, first game in Japan, something's going to go wrong here. So I'm like, I'm always scared. I don't want to get hit in the pads, you might be given out. So I'm batting 2 meters out of my crease, coming at number 3, batting 2 meters out of my crease, get a big stride forward. I got hit on the top of the knee roll. Pakistani bowlers just going up, and before the bowler's even up, the French umpire's got his finger in the air saying, "You're out, mate." So first game in Japan, I've got there 6 a.m., 4-hour drive, been given out for a duck by a French umpire. And we lost the game. Stuck in traffic on the way back, probably took 5 hours to get back. That was my first game of cricket in Japan.
Well, I'm glad things have improved a bit since then, mate.
Yeah. Well, I talked to Dave Lolback about it. He just says, I can't believe you played again after that. I'm trying to think why. I think it's because I got out for a duck. I didn't want everyone to think I was rubbish. So
That's right. Pride kicked in. Okay. So then you said you left in 2008 and you would have come back in 2014 around the same time as myself and came back as a community cricket manager and doing a bit of coaching as well. So you've been there ever since then. So coming up on 8 years. So that's a lot of time in Japan. The last 2 years have been more challenging than most, I would suspect. So looking at the differences between 2020 and 2021 and cricket in the time of COVID, what have been the main differences for you and the challenges that we've had to deal with?
Yeah, it's been a tough time for everyone these last 2 years. And myself included. There've been times where, you're sitting at home and with states of emergency, and you're not going out and meeting anyone. It's really can be really hard. So I think we've done as well as we could in putting cricket on in these last 2 years, and you just see that first game back after there's been a state of emergency for 2 months or whatever, and then you've got your cricketers coming out after that. You just see the smiles on the faces. Everyone's just so happy to be out and about, and maybe appreciating what they have in the Japan cricket environment a bit better than they did before. So trying to find a silver lining out of all of this. But it's been a tough 2 years, hasn't it? Yeah.
Well, it has. I mean, I get asked this quite a bit, and for me, 2020 was probably easier in that cricket just wasn't happening from, the time the pandemic kind of kicked off in, I guess, early March. We were just in a holding pattern. And then it started in, I guess it was mid-July, we started from memory. And then we had to fit in a whole season in, a handful of months. And we did that. Whereas this year, it has been on, off, could play at some grounds, not at others. There's different rules and different regulations, and there's been some COVID cases, and it's just been a non-stop headache.
Yeah, I've spent most of the year just buried in spreadsheets, rescheduling again, and then ripping it all up and rescheduling again. So that hasn't been much fun. I'll give you the tip.
Yeah, right.
I remember joking with I deal a lot with managers, committees, whatnot, with the cricket community, and joking with a couple of people last year saying, well, once we can start playing again in July or whenever that is, we'll be fine. Like, we're not anticipating the season starting and then being called off again. Like, surely not. And we all had a bit of a giggle about that. But that's pretty much what this year's been.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Would never imagine what's happened to the world.
Yeah, it's been definitely challenging circumstances. I think looking at the groups that you deal with, you're not just doing this your own. You referenced there the committees that you work with. Huge selection of volunteers in Japan, guys who are doing this work behind the scenes as well. I guess we should take this moment to give some of those guys a pat on the back and thanks for their hard work over the season.
Absolutely. There's a lot of them.
We probably won't go through all of them.
No, there's a lot of names, and some people think, my role, I'm a full-time staff at Japan Cricket, and I guess responsible for helping grow the game in Japan and getting more people playing cricket. But there's only so much one person can do. So we rely on a lot of volunteer committees to run all of our leagues, and they do a fantastic job, and they do it in their own time as well. So they probably don't get the credit they deserve sometimes. Would you agree?
100%. We had Vishantan on the pod a few months ago now, and he was very quick to point out that this isn't something he's getting paid for. It's a lot of the work he does in his spare time. And, for you, who spends your time in the office from, 9 till 6, Monday to Friday, but actually a lot of your job is dealing with these volunteers who aren't actually able to get into the cricket stuff until their working day is ended. So suddenly your phone starts ringing at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock on the weeknights. Not to mention all the work that goes in on the weekend when people arrive at a ground and perhaps something's not there or whatever. So, it's kind of 7 days a week, isn't it, for you and round the clock?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a 9 to 5 job, really, because, as you say, our volunteers are also working 9 to 5 doing other stuff. So, and the cricket, most of the cricket happens on Saturday and Sunday. So, it's like, I guess for large parts of the year, I'm kind of, whether it's working in the office every day, I'm doing something every day. And then at the quiet times of year, I take those opportunities to maybe get away from it a little bit for, 2 or 3 weeks.
Get down to the beach. Before we get into the season review as a whole, why don't you just tell us a little bit about how the competitions have evolved over the last 8 years since you've been here? We've seen the JCL grow. We've seen the Japan Cup explode. We've seen the JPL be reformed, if you like. Been a lot of changes.
Yeah. I suppose the Japan cricket scene was still relatively small when I arrived, 2014. The Japan Cup, I believe, had 13 teams at that point. And this year we got up to 58. And there's probably potential for that to go higher in the next couple of years if we have enough grounds. JCL going from 2 divisions, I think, of 13 teams to 3 divisions of, I'm going to say, 27 teams. So, yeah, substantial growth in those areas. JPL's a good one too. We had the idea of getting the best cricketers in Japan to be playing against each other as a kind of level down from international cricket. That idea was there, but it's probably taken until this year even for us to get that product to somewhere where we want it. Having those 5 teams playing some pretty decent level cricket, I would say, on our best grounds, and that really showcases Japan cricket in a way, having it live streamed and going to a global audience. So we're heading in the right direction, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think you mentioned the Japan Cup, but I mean, that competition with 58 teams, as you said, it's just not the work for one man. So those teams are spread across, I'm going to say 7 regions.
Yeah, 7 regions. Some regions obviously have more teams than others. Like we've had Kansai up to 12 teams, and East Kanto up to 13 teams, believe it or not, from 0 about 5 years ago. So some of these regions are exploding, and other regions we're just trying to build from the ground up. Still, there's still plenty of scope in Tokai. That's a real area with potential. We think that can certainly 10 or 12 teams there easily.
And the big one as well is Tohoku, now that they've got a proper ground up in Wataricho, hoping that might lead to a few more teams coming up there in Sendai.
Yeah, so we've signed that City of Cricket agreement with Watari, and hopefully getting a hard wicket in there sooner rather than later. It's had some issues this year around, of course, COVID affects different teams in different ways, and it was a real struggle getting the teams out there in the Tohoku region this year. But hopefully next year we can see big improvements up there as well.
Yeah, Tohoku are they are a regular member at Japan Cup finals. They've usually sent a combined team of sort of a best 12 to take part in the finals weekend. Weren't here this year, which was a miss for them. But as you say, things are looking up around there. And I think looking at the Japan Cup, its role has changed in the time that we were here. Its purpose, if you like, it was really just an opportunity for guys to play T20 cricket and not much else to it. Whereas now it's become a place where regional associations can own their own competition, start building their own regional identity, play at a home ground or something close to it if possible. Tell us a little bit about how that's developed.
Yeah, so again, the concept was always there to have self-governing regions in Japan cricket. So almost akin to like your state systems in Australia or India, or your county systems in England. It just took time for it to really gather momentum. It's not something you can just create overnight. Say, okay, now we've got this new association of all these teams. Okay, everyone cooperate, work together. So it does take a few years for everything to click. But we're starting to see the fruits of that now. And an example of that would be Kansai Cricket Association, where they have these regular monthly meetings. They have a whole board. They've got a beautiful ground there, Kaizuku, which both of us have been lucky enough to go to a couple of times. And that ground is now the centerpiece of that regional association. Before the ground was there, it's fair to say maybe things were a little bit disjointed there, but that's really brought everyone together, that focal point. And we certainly want to recreate that in other regions. So Sammu being that focal point of East Kanto, Sano, of course, for North Kanto, and Watari now for Tohoku. So that's the idea, and gradually we can see it materializing.
Yeah, and of course you need the right people. You need good people to be there, as we've mentioned already. So each of these regional associations have their own committee to run the Japan Cup, which you kind of help them out with, but they are becoming gradually more and more independent. And the great thing about the Japan Cup is, of course, anyone can take part, right? It's I could phone you up or a regional association up in February and say, right, me and my mates want to come and play in the Japan Cup, and got 11 guys and on we go. Whereas other competitions are slightly different. So talking about the regions and talking about the Japan Cup this year, as you mentioned, it was a bit of a challenge with COVID disrupting a lot of the rounds, but we did manage to get through it all. You had to get a bit creative with some of the formatting and the scheduling from what I recall. So starting off, any region you like. There's 7 of them. You can pick one to begin with. Why don't you talk us through who some of the star performers were and how their teams made Japan Cup finals?
Where do we start here?
I guess I'll tell you what, let's start with Kanto and let's start at the top. Let's start with North.
North Kanto.
Start with North Kanto. Who were the teams from North Kanto that made finals?
Yep. So 2 teams had just looked invincible throughout the year, and that was the Sultans of Japan. Our friend Hanit is the main man there, and got a lot of strong players, and also the Ceylon 11, 2-time winners of the whole Japan Cup. So those teams went through unbeaten through the round robin stages, finishing first and second. Both of them qualified for the Japan Cup finals. Now the other 2 teams in that region, finishing 3rd and 4th, who we didn't give a second thought to coming into the semi-finals, were Pakistan Stars and Tokyo Titans. And lo and behold, they win the semi-finals and go through to the North Kanto final. So it was another example, I think, of a team winning from 4th place, which was
it's been a bit of a theme this year, hasn't it?
Yeah, the Pakistan Stars beating the Titans narrowly in that final.
And how did they go in Japan Cup finals itself?
Ceylon 11 made a pretty good account of themselves, making the quarterfinals. I think they ended up in the semi-finals. So, yeah, they're a team that sneaks up on you. They're never going to lay down the Ceylon 11s. There's some very, very good cricketers in there. So, yeah, semi-finals again. And the Sultans lost a quarterfinal to my team.
Yeah.
So, but they ended up winning the Shield. So, made a pretty good account of themselves.
Yeah, so North Kanto, pretty strong region. 7 teams, 8 teams taking part in the league?
9.
9 teams in North Kanto.
Yeah.
Okay, so next one, the one you know best, East Kanto.
Yeah.
There was some pretty creative stuff, I think, with the scheduling in terms of getting all the games done. North was a bit easier, right? Because I know facilities were kind of a bit more open for people who were based within Tochigi, so they were able to get most of their games done, but wasn't the case for East Kanto, where Samu's been shut for the whole pandemic.
That was the thing. East Kanto's got 13 teams across 2 divisions. We tried to play all our matches in Samu, and Samu was off limits. We couldn't get on there until I think it was mid-October. We were finally granted access again. So we're playing a lot of the matches in Sano, and yeah, scheduling was a nightmare. And as you said, we ended up playing some 15 over matches in mid-October, teams backing up, playing 2. Even the Falcons, I think, played 3 matches in a day. And the top division, certainly, you got 6 teams there who are very evenly matched. So it was almost like a bit of a lottery who finished first and second, and that was Scuba and the Cheetah Sharks finishing first and second in the first division. And the Tuskers were runaway, not winners, but finishing top unbeaten of the second division. Yeah.
Okay, so they were in Division 2. Is that because they're a new team?
Yeah. Yep, brand new team with some very handy players, it turned out.
Yeah, because they may have been playing in the East Kanto Division 2, but they've ended up going pretty well in finals weekends.
Absolutely. They've got, I don't know how many, 3, 4, 5 really quality players. So their captain, Dinesh Sandaruan, is one of the faster bowlers going around. Supur Navaratna, we know how destructive he can be. And Don Barnaker ended up being player of the tournament, I think, in the Japan Cup finals. So when you got that kind of quality, you're always a pretty good chance to do well. And again, heading into Japan Cup finals, there were 12 teams, but I remember saying, like, I wouldn't rule out any of these teams, really. There were no teams that really stood out. They're also, all of the teams are pretty good, we thought. So
I think the fact that that's happened, that a team from Division 2 in their regional competition has ended up winning the tournament properly, speaks to the way the structure is set up, in that any team in the Japan Cup can win the whole competition if things fall their way, even if you're starting in Division 2. So can you just explain how that works?
Yeah. So the idea is that most of the stronger teams are in the Division 1 of their regions, and we've created divisions now in Kansai, South Kanto, and East Kanto. But the way we see it going forward is we'll replicate that in some of the bigger regions, West Kanto and North Kanto, having 2 divisions. We want the matches to be pretty even if possible, right? We've had cases of a team making 240 runs and then bowling out the other team for 20. It was just not what we want.
It's not fun for
The new teams basically have to go through Division 2, even if they're good. So that's what happened with Tuskers this year. So there's places in the Japan Cup finals for winning teams in Division 1 and runner-up teams in Division 1 as well. But there's also an opportunity for those winners of Division 2 to go into a playoff match and possibly sneak their way into the Japan Cup finals. And we saw that was what the Tuskers did.
And didn't your own team get through that way as well? Or did you go through as
Yeah, the Sharks. We finished second in East Kanto Division 1 and played a playoff match against the Tokyo Rhinos, who had also been a runner-up in West Kanto. And we were lucky enough to beat them by a few runs in that playoff match.
Yeah, so I think that's the way I've heard the Japan Cup kind of likened to English football's FA Cup. Anyone can win that. Anyone's got a chance. And I think the way it's set up kind of shows that, and this year's really highlighted it. So that's been good. So then you referred to the Rhinos from West Kanto, who was setting the world alight over in West Kanto Japan Cup.
The Wyverns, just unbeatable in West Kanto, and they're currently the number 1 ranked T20 team in Japan. We've got the Japan Cup rankings now, which we brought in last year. A couple of their players, Shogo Kimura, the Big Show, and Wataru Miyoshi had standout seasons there, and they're a team that just competes hard. They're never going to sit down and let anyone beat them. So they were comfortable winners in West Kanto.
Which bodes well for the Japan national team as well. Lots of Japanese players in Wyverns.
Yep.
And how'd they go in finals?
They did pretty well again, and made the semis against my team, the Chiba Sharks. So Wyverns probably a little bit unfortunate. We're playing on a spinning wicket, and we had 4 off spinners ready to go, and they had 2 left-hand batsmen who kind of stayed in for 12 overs, and they were struggling to score. So the conditions probably favoured us in that game, but Wyverns could have easily gone on to the final and probably done pretty well.
Okay, so lastly, in the Kanto region, South Kanto have traditionally been a bit of a powerhouse, and certainly in terms of the Japan Premier League. And they've got plenty of teams down there as well. So what was the highlights, the big stories from the South Kanto region this year?
Well, there's only one. I mean, it was a long season, but it comes down to 1 over and 1 ball. And I want to talk about this with you. I want your thoughts.
Yeah, okay.
On this, okay. So you've got the Tigers and the Roaring Tigers in the final of Division 1 in South Kanto. And they're all the same club, right? It's a very, it's a big club with a proud tradition, but they got 2 teams in the Japan Cup and they're competing in the same division there because they're both pretty good, right? Comes down to the last over, last ball, in fact, and the Tigers are level, scores are level with 1 ball to go. And I'm following this. I'm excited. I'm following this on the app, right? My scores are level. They're 9 down, the Tigers chasing. They need 1 run off the last ball to win the game. Roaring Tigers have finished first. Tigers finished second. So if it's a tie, then there's no super over or nothing else. The Roaring Tigers would technically be the champions of Division 1.
And go automatically into Japan Cup finals, right?
Correct.
The other team would need to go to playoffs.
Yeah. So, you expect a certain level of, grace or sportsmanship between 2 teams from the same club. But what happens on the last ball of the innings?
I believe non-striker may have got a little bit over-eager.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know the name of the non-striker, but the story was that he was pretty set on running no matter what. which is fair enough, right? And he may have gone a little early. I don't know. I wasn't there. But the bowler was didn't really hesitate in mankading him, which quite controversial, I would have thought, in a final on the last ball.
Well, yeah. It's certainly one of those topics that seems to rear its head from time to time. I don't think it ever ends up with a happy ending, but I was watching, I forget which team it was now. I want to say the Tanzania women's team against the Uganda women's team in a African regional qualifier recently where there were 5 mankads in one game. And speaking to the ICC, interviewed the girl afterwards. She's like, well, it's a mode of dismissal, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's like, well, I guess it is. I mean, when you're new to the sport, out's out, right? You don't have all that history and the sort of spirit side of the game that comes with mankadding. There's totally within their rights to run people out.
Yeah.
I mean, batsmen just stay in their crease, shouldn't they?
Yeah. I actually think the rule's been misapplied by the umpires occasionally as well. Because, I mean, from memory, the new rule is if the batsman's left their crease before the bowler was reasonably expected to deliver the ball.
Entered their delivery stride, I think is what it is now.
Right. And I've seen umpires give out mankads where it should have just been dead ball. Yeah, because the batsman was in their crease when they should have been. And of course, when you expect the bowler to bowl, then that's when you leave your crease, right?
Yeah, right.
But yeah, not a fan of it.
Not a fan of it. Anyway,
I've spoken to several Tigers players, and they're laughing about it now. I was worried it was going to
absolutely kick off,
just devastate that club or something. Like, oh no, we're fine now.
All of a sudden, the Tigers are split into 3 different fronts. Mutinies all over, but no, everyone laughed it off. Well, good on them.
I don't know if they laughed it off initially, but yeah, they're fine now.
and the losing team made it through to finals anyway.
They did, yeah. The Tigers got through anyway.
So they coped. So in terms of the division, I believe, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I probably should have done some more prep. But Sabarish Ravichandran, who struggled in the Japan Cricket League, but took off in the Japan Cup. Is that right?
Oh, mate. He took there's more than twice as many runs as anyone else. He took the most wickets. He's just, he's just a bit too good, isn't he?
It's just been a T20 season for...
Yeah.
Okay, so that wraps up Kanto. We'll have a quick stop in Tokai. Only 3 teams in Tokai this year.
Yeah, we'd like there to be more teams, but it's a struggle. Tokai's a really big region, so some teams have to travel from, say, around Kanagawa. Some others have to travel from Nagoya or Aichi. So just the 3 teams, but we expect there to be more teams next year. The Nagoya Bengal Tigers were winners this year, which surprised some. Beat the Kawasaki Knight Riders, who are pretty strong, despite the efforts of our mate Vinay Iyer. He was the player of the tournament. But Nagoya Bengal Tigers had a pretty strong list, I think. They had a lot of players to select from. So,
and how'd they go? How'd they go on the finals weekend?
They didn't win too many, but they featured in I think they won their last game, perhaps. But yeah, they finished at the bottom 4. They enjoyed themselves. I spoke to them afterwards, and they
glad to be there.
Yeah, they talked about what a great time they'd had. So
good. That's what you want to hear, isn't it? Okay, so that takes us down to Kansai. So we've mentioned them a couple of times already. A few handy players down there, and we'll get to talk to them a little bit more when we come to the JPL. But from a Japan Cup point of view, they're another with 2 divisions. Standout teams, standout performers.
Yeah, we've gone to 2 divisions. We're up to 12 teams now, which is just a huge explosion in numbers. It was a battle this year between the Kobe Hawks and the Osaka Lions in Division 1. They both finished on equal points, and going into the finals, there was, talk, or maybe the Osaka Lions are the team that have kind of become the best team in Kansai, but no, the class of the Hawks shone through in the final, and they got the job done. A couple of batsmen down there, Ramzan Dano and Umair Zafika, were pretty hard to handle for a lot of the opposition teams. So still a very, very good team, the Kobe Hawks. Division 2, one of the new teams, the Kyoto Super Lions, were unstoppable, winning every game. And then going on to win the final by about 10 wickets, I think. So,
And they came through the playoffs to make Japan Cup finals as well.
absolutely. They travelled to Fuji for a playoff. They won that pretty comfortably and then made it to the Japan Cup finals. Unfortunately, they didn't click. They finished last despite being pretty competitive against the Wyverns in the first match. Yeah, they ended up finishing at the bottom, I think.
Yeah, so a lot of teams from a lot of different regions with a fair bit of talent knocking around now. So Japan Cup is a thoroughly open competition with, as you said, 58 teams this year, just getting bigger and bigger. So with that in mind, this year, the Japan Cup finals coming back was just a win for everyone itself, I think, having had various reasons to cancel it over the last few years. We've had COVID, we've had typhoons. So this was the first Japan Cup finals weekend since 2018.
That's right. We missed 2 full years of it because of, what was the name of the first typhoon? Typhoon Hagibis, perhaps, which really devastated Sano. We were shoveling mud for the best part of months, weren't we?
Through till Christmas, pretty much. Wasn't until the ground got too hard to dig mud out of that we finally got a break from that. Fun times. Yeah, and then this last year, 2020, COVID put an end to Japan Cup finals.
Well, it was the rain in the end.
Oh, it's actually the rain, isn't it? Oh, that's right. I got just another, it was quite a typhoon.
Yeah.
It just poured down with rain.
No, yeah. There was a typhoon around, I think. Yeah. But yeah, just torrential rain. And once you get to October, you're not expecting too much rain. But yeah, unfortunately, 2019, 2020 was just rained off. Yeah.
Okay, so moving away from Japan Cup, actually, I suppose we should just talk a little bit about the winners. So the Tuskers, you said, came through and won it.
Yeah.
The grand final played at where we're looking now, down at SICG 1.
Yeah.
Talk us a little bit about what happened on that in the game itself.
I think we won the toss and batted first.
Now, you don't captain the Sharks in T20 stuff, right?
No. That's Takeda. He's much better than me. Tsuyoshi Takeda. So he won the toss. We batted and it was tough going. Pitch was a little slow by that point and the Tuskers bowlers bowled really well. So we just kind of scraped together 108. Again, Ibi Takahashi kind of held our innings together with another 40 or 50. And 108 it wasn't quite enough. I came in at number 6, I think, and just managed to get myself injured, basically. So that was great.
Yeah.
And they got it 1 wicket down, I think. And well played to the Tuskers.
Well played to the Tuskers. So yeah, it was good to see a winner in the Japan Cup, a national champion for the first time in 3 years. So that's good. And looks like they'll be a team to look out for in the coming seasons. All right, so moving away briefly from men's cricket, I'm actually just going to ask you a little bit about the women's game. We've seen the J-Bash develop this year. I know the Women's League has struggled a little bit and didn't have a champion at the end of the season due to having to cancel too many games. But the J-Bash is the format now for women to get into cricket in Japan.
Yeah.
Structured into 3 tiers with the social, the challenge, and the all-stars. And the social was just 6-a-side. Softball knocking around. But the challenge league, you ran that day. We had, I want to say, 6 teams.
We did. We had 6 teams, and that was just recently. 6 teams out of the SICG playing on 3 smaller grounds, but we did play hardball cricket, 6-a-side, and they played a bit of a round robin, and they're followed by a final, 3rd place and 5th place, and some pretty good cricket played on the day. So I think, we've done a bit of work on the structures behind the scenes, and we're hoping that can just go from strength to strength.
Yeah, I think that it's important, just for those who don't know, the Challenge League is first opportunity for females to play hardball cricket. So the goal is for it to be 11-a-side, but at the moment we're still playing 6-a-side stuff. And to get 6 teams out there was fantastic. There were a lot of players who were former members of the Japan national team who haven't been seen for a little while, and they all came back to play. So it was really good to see all of those girls back and enjoying cricket. A lot of people, I think, brought their kids as well and were in the tea room and just, and running around in the outfield. So yeah, a real sort of family-friendly environment. I think some of the husbands were probably around supporting as well. And it was good to get that out and get that day done. And hopefully it's a format that we can develop. Likewise, the J-Bash All-Stars is designed to pit the best female players against each other. It was a tournament where national team players such as Yurika Kidamura did pretty well. I think Kyo Fujikawa was leading wicket taker. Ayaka Canada showed her pace with the ball, and Naoto Kizawa contributed with both bat and ball, whilst Chelsea Mosscript, the now departed Chelsea Mosscript, dominated with the runs tally and the wickets tally, I think. So she was player of the year there, but good to see that competition developing and some girls getting a chance to really practice the skills that they need when they go and play international cricket, because I think in the Women's League that probably has been more of an introductory format for a lot of the girls, so they can get really competitive in the J-Bash. And we had 3 of those days this year, and there'll probably be 4 or 5 maybe next year. So
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to actually go and see any games, but the beauty now is the live stream. So I was able to just tune in on YouTube and have a look. And every time I see these J-Bash All-Stars matches, there are players there who are better than they were last time I watched. It's amazing the progression you can get within especially our Japan women's squad. They improved so quickly.
Yeah, and a lot of that is just having a coach around to put some time into them. So that's been one of the results, I think, of having Simon Dyer over the course of the year. And hopefully we'll be able to continue that next year with a new high-performance manager.
Yeah. So Simon's recently departed, unfortunately. Just taking his family back to Melbourne in Australia. Wish he could have stayed longer, but we'll welcome someone new next year.
Fingers crossed, so we can get them into the country. All right, so moving away from the girls, I just wanted to touch briefly on the junior cricket, because the under-15 and under-19 leagues are 2 projects of yours that have really been programs which have developed incredibly well, something that you've put a lot of time in over the last 6-7 years. They weren't really in existence much before. They were kind of one weekend events, really. I was speaking to Marcus Thurgate on the podcast last weekend, and he was talking about, how it was really just a 3-day event that they trained all year for, and that was great. But now, much more cricket being played in those age groups. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the under-15 league, how many teams you got, and who came through, stood out this year?
Yeah, well, the kids need to play cricket, right? That's how they get better. It's not just practicing. You got to be out there playing matches. So, yeah, our goal is for these kids to be playing, matches at least once a month and going into a final series in November. So the under-15, under-19 league probably went as well as it could have this year with all of the kerfuffle around the states of emergency. Under-15s, we have 2 divisions now of, I think, 6 teams, 5 teams. And we were able to play plenty of matches. A few matches got cancelled due to rain, of course. It happens every year, and also the state of emergency, not being able to play. But, yeah, all the teams got out there and played some decent cricket. Under-15s, so should we go through some of the highlights there?
Who were the standout players? Who were the future stars for the Japan National Academy squads?
Well, it was a pretty good final. I got to see a little bit of the final out here at the SICG, the big ground. And, the Braves are always thereabouts.
It's the Sano Braves.
Sano Braves, they're always thereabouts. But this year the Tokyo Falcons had a really strong team. So they got the job done, the Falcons in the final, which was, surprise to some, but not really to myself. I know the managers there at the Falcons have done a wonderful job.
And you coached some of their kids in the academy setup? Yeah,
so probably the standout players in under-15s this year were the Nikhil Pol, who's a big young lad now.
I was going to say, he doesn't look 15 or under 15.
He's about 13, isn't he?
Well, no, big, just big.
But he bats really well. He's got a really solid technique, and he started to bowl pretty good pace as well. So one to look out for the future. A young kid from the Sano Braves, Chihaya Arakawa, has done really, really well. Also did well in the under-19s. So he looks like a real talent coming out of Sano.
Good.
There's plenty of other kids who are going to be very, very good cricketers. Kids kind of develop at different rates, and, some players that take a little bit longer to develop, and all of a sudden, the age 16, 17, they're really good players. So.
Yeah, for sure. Suppose we should just give a nod to Alpha Quashers, who did make sure they finished the season with some silverware. They're Division 2 under-15 winners. Is that right?
That was an upset. They beat the Lions in the final just narrowly. So well done to the Alpha Quashers for winning a trophy in your first season under 15s. Fantastic effort. Yeah.
So moving on to the under-19s, there's two clubs who have long been rivals at this level. Sano Braves and the Chiba Maiwais. A few other teams around who are getting stronger and stronger now as well. Tell us a little bit about how that season panned out.
Yeah, those two teams look strong throughout the year. The Chiba Maiwais have just been struggling a little bit with depth and playing numbers. But actually the standard of under-19s is really improved over the years. So you've got teams like the Men in Blue now, Alpha Quashers were there in the under-19s, Tokyo Falcons. You've still got Uenomiya, who are always hard to beat. So it's it's a tough league now. You've got to play good cricket to win games. So the Chiba Maiwais have always been up there in the final, but this year they actually lost the semi-final to the Men in Blue boys. Boys in Blue?
Boys in Blue?
We're trying to work out.
They've got a women in blue team.
They do have women in blue.
It should be a boys in blue, shouldn't it, really?
Yeah. Anyway. They upset the Maiwais in the semi-finals. Some of those Maiwais boys weren't too happy about that, but, that's cricket. And I got to play the Braves in the final. And Sano Braves on this occasion were just was too good. Shotaro Hiratsuka is just dominating that under-19 league. He's just murdering attacks with the bat. He's just scoring runs for fun, and he also just comes on and bowls off spin and takes wickets. So he had a really good year. Shu Noguchi's a very, very good player at that level. So those two had really dominant seasons. A couple of the Maiwais were good also. Ishan Fadiel had a really good season there. So he's one with a lot of potential, probably unrealised potential yet, but yeah, quality player.
So a couple of names to put in there. I'm not going to get into this in too much detail. My podcast listeners have heard me rant about it plenty over the course of this season, but the Japan under-19 team, as you know, as head coach, were denied a chance to compete in the regional qualifiers. So a lot of those names that you mentioned there, Shu Noguchi, Shan Fachao, are two guys who will be aging out of that age group now. And probably, aren't quite ready to step up to the full men's national squad. But there are plans to expand the national academy. You want to talk us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I don't know if you probably don't want to dwell on the under-19 regional qualifiers too much, but
I've said enough.
That was hugely disappointing for some of the boys. You're only at that age, 17, 18 once in your life, to be denied that opportunity to make a World Cup. It's really disappointing. So I really feel for those boys. But yeah, we think we've got a lot of talent at that age group, and we want to maintain giving them coaching opportunities and developing them as players. So just expanding our national development programs to include some under 23 players next year is part of the plan.
Yeah, so we can keep all those kids in the programs and hopefully entice some more new ones as well. Some of these uni players, every now and again, there's university cricketers who pop up out of nowhere who've new to cricket at 18 and suddenly they've got a bit of an eye for a ball and can surprise us. So it's an opportunity to get some of those into the programs as well. Yeah,
we've had some really good players over the years come out of our just university systems. Kohei Kubota is probably the
standout at the moment.
Arato Ueda, going back even further, guys like Tomoki Ota, and even further back, Amigo Kobayashi came out of university cricket. So, yeah.
It's not a JCA competition, but we should probably just give a nod to the University League winners, which was the same university, I believe, in the men's and women's. A double for Doshisha.
That's correct. I went and watched those matches. Doshisha beating the Waseda team in the final of the men's and the ladies' university champions wicket, it's called. So congratulations there for the first time, a new winner, a new Japan champion.
And another sign that Kansai cricket is coming along nicely.
Absolutely.
Okay, so on to the mainstay, if you like. We'll start with the Japan Cricket League. Divisions 2 and 3 was a Men in Blue double. So I understand that Men in Blue had never previously won a JCL title. Like London Buses, two come along at once.
Sure.
Any standout performances from those two divisions?
Well, there's a fella in the division in their third 11 who I suspect won't be in their third 11 for much longer by the name of Saurav Bhowmik. who scored a truckload of runs for them.
Got a Division 3 record, I think 145 in one game. I think he's the top scorer in Division 3.
Yeah, he's won them the league off his own bat, hasn't he?
Pretty much.
So I'm sure he won't be hanging around at that level too much longer. Probably see him up in the first 11 next year, you would think, wouldn't you?
Well, I think so.
Skip past the two.
Yeah, don't know a lot about him. Don't know if he's new to Japan and just kind of settled in, or if he just decided that Division 3 was where he's going to hang out for the year. But yeah, I think he
looks a good bat. Yeah.
The management will be saying, come on, we need you.
Yeah.
So yeah, there were some other interesting performances. I should have this to hand, but there was a guy for the Tokyo Rangers picked up 7 foot in the final.
Yeah.
Ended up on the losing side.
Yeah.
But 7 for 16, which I think is not quite the best figures ever in a Division 2 match, but it's not far off. I think there's been one other 7 foot.
So you're probably a fan of my favourite podcast is The Great Cricketer in Australia, and they make a big deal out of scoring a century in a losing team. Because then you can kind of just say to all your mates, well, look what I did. What happened, guys? So I think that's definitely the equivalent, isn't it? Taking a 7 for a losing team. Yeah. I think it's Melinda Sanjaya from memory.
Melinda Sanjaya. Yeah, certainly did. Had a good day out.
Yeah. That was, I think most people figured the Tokyo Rangers would go pretty well in that final, but yeah, credit to the men in blue. Just pretty even team performance by them, and they managed to get the job done. And
both teams, just like we've touched on already, finished 4th in the league and went on to win the finals. So
what's with that?
A bit of a theme this year with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, great credit to those guys. And I think the Division 2, Division 3 competitions are coming along nicely and are showing that there's, depth, but also from watching the finals, they were pretty friendly affairs. They were.
Yep.
Everyone wanted to win, but it wasn't boiling over. It was played in really good spirits, and I think those divisions are getting to where we want them to be in terms of it's a nice place to play, a nice environment to play in, and hopefully can be a place where junior players can bed in and learn, and then as their improvement comes, they'll break into the Division 1 teams. That's going to be the plan, right?
You kind of expect some fireworks if you got a final between Men in Blue and the Tokyo Falcons, but speaking to the umpires, they said both teams were extremely friendly and showed great spirit out there. The Tokyo Falcons captain was very gracious in defeat after the match, so yeah, good spirit shown.
Now we've talked a little bit about some of these clubs, the same names cropping up. The Men in Blue, the Falcons, obviously the Sharks, your own team. We've mentioned Sano Cricket Club. We've mentioned Alpha Quashers Cricket Club. The Japan Cricket League's main purpose is to develop strong clubs, right? So before we start talking about the Division 1, tell us a little bit about how the JCL is set up to provide a cricketing ecosystem that is different to what the Japan Cup is, can really make a big difference to how cricket is played here.
Yeah, I think you've already hinted about the fact that we want strong clubs. So I suppose before the JCL started, there was a bit of a history of teams forming, maybe under the leadership of one person and that one person disappearing and then the team kind of collapsing and a new team being reformed somewhere else. So it's really hard to get any continuity when that happens. So yeah, one of the goals of the Japan Cricket League is to form strong clubs that have, we'd like them to have 3 teams in a team in each division. They've got strong management, strong committee. They've got, their finances are in order. And when they're that big, it's very hard for them to fail. So if you're just a one team club and you lose 1 or 2 key members, then there's every chance that team might disappear, which you do see still.
Yeah, even in the Japan Cup, that still happens, right?
But if you take a club like, I'd take one for example, maybe let's take the Alpha Quashers for example. They've got 3 teams in the Japan Cricket League, two in the Japan Cup. They've got under 19 and under 15 team. So it's hard to imagine them just overnight not being there anymore.
Yeah, right.
So hopefully the clubs like that, have a long future, right?
All they need is a women's team. They can be the first super club. That's what we're looking for, right? 3 divisions, 9,
Yeah.
15s and a women's team. And so
Well, yeah.
qualify as a super club, which is a name that I basically just come up with right now.
The men in blue might be almost there.
They're almost there, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They do have a women's team came and competed in the giant.
Women in blue.
Yeah. Over there. So, yeah, that's laying down the marker and setting the standards for everyone else to follow.
Yep. So for anyone interested in playing 40 over cricket too, a lot of these clubs are definitely recruiting at this time of year. So get in touch with them. I know my club is. We're always searching for new players.
Okay, so you mentioned your club. This is where I let you kind of wax lyrical about the joys of captaining a winning team. The Chiba Sharks have won the JCL flag 2 years out of the last 3. Finished 4th in the league this year, but managed to get through those semis and grand final. Talk us through, first of all, the knockout stages, the playoffs, and then who your star performers have been and what's been the secret of the success.
Yeah, I mean, we've always said that all you need to do is to finish in the top 4, and you've got a chance. You've got as much of a chance as the team that finishes first. That's just the system that we have. So we finished first before and lost semi-finals. So it was the opposite this year, but yeah, you got to be in it to win it. So you've got to have a good enough season. You don't have to win every game, but you have to be performing consistently enough to grab that 4th place minimum, which is, we were just good enough to do that this year. And we only just scraped in. So we had a couple of games we really should have won and we let slip. But, yeah, once we were there, we thought we were just, looking around the group, we know we've got some guys who can play, and we were playing good enough cricket at times to compete against anyone. So I know not many people gave us a chance to beat Max in that semi-final, but we were extremely confident going in. We had 3 players unavailable due to injury and absence, but we still gave ourselves a really red-hot chance of winning that game. Takati took over the captaincy, did a brilliant job. Guys just stepped up, and our main man this year has definitely been Ibi Takahashi. He batted for most of the innings in that semi-final. 200 on the board, not a huge score, but 200 in any kind of final is just, it's not easy to chase. We bowled exceptionally well in that semi-final against Max and took key wickets at the right times and ended up winning quite comfortably. So going into the final against another team, Falcons, who maybe upset Tigers, maybe not. Who were the favourites for that game? I don't know.
Well, the Falcons had finished 2nd in the league, and they'd had a pretty strong season all around. So I think with the Tigers, they got a couple of players who, if they fire, they're going to be very difficult to stop. But
yeah,
as a team this year, the Falcons probably looked a better all-round package.
You're probably right. Yeah, that's a fair comment. The Falcons deserve to be in the final, and we recognise that. They bat down to about number 10 or something, and they've got the whole team to come out and bowl if they want to. So we knew we had a tough game on our hands. They were confident going in. I think you spoke to some about it, and he seemed pretty confident. So, yeah,
he did. But they just had one of those days, I think. But you guys went out and it was hard work. They made a pretty good start, the Falcons, and I think at the halfway point in the first innings, they would have been pretty confident. They had the Sharks, 50 for 2 after 20 overs?
Yeah, I was still in there.
You were battling at that stage?
Drinks break, and I was battling, and I knew how hard it was to bat out there, although I think Tuckety made a mockery of that coming in after I got out.
Making a 55 ball, 80 not out.
Yeah, yeah, but I knew it wasn't an ordinary wicket, and Falcons probably felt pretty confident at that start stage. And yeah, we probably were a few runs short of where we wanted to be, but the key for us was 2 wickets down and giving our middle order a chance to go out and bat with some freedom in the second 20 overs, which is certainly what they did. They smashed it. And Tuckety's innings of 80 is possibly the best innings I've seen in Japan in a big match. And a lot of people have said that. So I think the Falcons acknowledged it was a pretty good innings as well.
I was going to knock because I've seen him play, certainly.
And 200 was just going to be too many, I think, on that wicket.
Yeah, definitely. And if the Falcons never really got going today, they were 5 down for 20 odd.
Yeah, it wasn't their best day with the bat. They'd probably want to have a few of those wickets back again. So they'll be better next time around. I don't think they're going away.
For sure. Now, the team of the year was announced at the awards night. It's always good for 11 guys to get the recognition. There are a few Japanese names in there as well. Over the course of the season, there's been some impressive performances from individuals and from teams, which we've kind of discussed now. But the team of the year had guys like Koi Kubota, you mentioned a minute ago. He was a leading wicket taker. He was in there, and Tomonoshin Oki, a young Japanese.
He was the main man in the university, the Gakuren, the university board. So he was the what do they call it? The Gicho, I think it is, the president, if you like, of the university board. So he did a lot of work behind the scenes, and also took a whole lot of wickets, didn't he?
Took 19.
Got me out.
Did he?
Yeah.
19 wickets across the season. Fair effort. It's giving you a nudge. And we can't really talk about the JCL performances without mentioning Alex Patmore, who averaged just 106 this season, finished with 532 runs from 7 games. Pretty decent season he's had.
It's hard to get him out. He doesn't give you his wicket, put it that way.
Yeah.
He to be better, he hits the ball along the ground, which, I mean, as a coach, there's a little bit of a thing for me. I'm like, come on, guys. If you hit the ball in the air, there's a chance you might get caught. So he plays pretty old school cricket. He's grown up learning his cricket in England, and he's very, very good at it. Yeah.
And keeps as well. So
yeah,
always involved. Vidya we mentioned already, scored 370 runs and took 17 wickets as well. Another member of that team of the year. He's always there or thereabouts and ended up getting the Player of the Year award.
Yes, but speaking of guys who put value on their own wicket, he's probably the other guy you put in that category. Really hard to get out. If you bat for long enough, you're going to score runs, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure. Well, he certainly did that in the last competition we've got to talk about, which was the Japan Premier League. Vidya was the tournament MVP there and scored a ridiculous amount of runs as well. Before we get into the specifics, talk to us a little bit about the JPL, its structure, and what makes it unique in the Japan cricket infrastructure.
Well, it's really the only competition we have which is a regional representative competition. So if you like, imagine club cricket and international cricket. And in between that, you've got the Japan Premier League, where you represent your region, one of 5 regions. We were talking about Japan Cup earlier. So all of those, say you're in East Kanto, all of those 13 Japan Cup teams provide players for the East Kanto Sunrisers representative team. And you're getting the best players. So picking a squad of 14 from only 13 teams, from as many as 13 teams, it's kind of the cream of the crop. So all of those 5 squads have got some really talented players in there. So you're getting some pretty good quality cricket.
And there are some rules around selection to encourage development as well?
Yeah, that's right. So we want to link it in with international cricket. So we have a minimum requirements for the number of Japanese players you have in your squad. I think it was 6. And under 23s, we need at least 5 under 23s. We want to get away from the competition being dominated by 40-year-olds who might be pretty good players, but they might not necessarily be the ones we're looking for to be playing for Japan in the next 5 years. So yeah, we do have a little bit of a bias towards youth there. So apologies to all the old guys who maybe missed out on selection this year.
They've had their day. So the tournament has changed a little bit. As we mentioned, it used to be sort of a 2-team thing back in the early days when we arrived, 2014, 2015. It became a 4-team regional comp from 2016. And then last year became 5 teams when Kansai were added. Kansai have been going okay. Makoto Taniyama was the standout bowler in the tournament this year with 13 wickets across his 5 matches, including 5 for 2, I think he took against North Kanto.
Yeah, 5 for 2. That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Tani's obviously a well-known cricketer in Japan and continues to...
Puts high standards on himself too. He came up to me the other day and he looked pretty morose and he was saying he had a bad season and he doesn't have confidence in his ability to bowl anymore. And I said, mate, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Get you in the nets. Well, we'll practice a little bit. You'll be ready to go next year. He's a quality player, though, isn't he?
Oh, yes. Bats, bowls, fields, does everything. His leg spin.
Wasn't happy with his 5-for-2.
Yeah. Jeez. So the tournament itself went really well this year, I thought. It had a bit of a buzz around it, lots of social media. All the matches were live streamed. And the weather held out for us this year, which was a marked improvement on the 2020 edition.
Yeah. Well, we did get that torrential storm at one point.
Get the mountains
till the end of the day. We thought it was perfect weather, and then that's part of playing cricket in Japan, isn't it? There's always something going on. There's a typhoon or an earthquake.
Yeah, it was stupid. I'd actually forgotten about that. I'd blanked it from my memory. Yeah, that was horrendous.
Yep.
Great. Well, look, that's kind of the season in wrap. I think it's been a memorable one for a number of reasons, but from your own point of view, Dukes, I have to say, what's Samudeshta? Certainly it's been one for the ages, I reckon, and one that people will talk about. It's great to see some new winners, as we mentioned. It's been the West Kanto Hurricanes ended up winning the Japan Premier League for the first time.
It was a really good final, wasn't it?
Really good final.
High quality cricket. East Kanto, my team that I coached, the East Kanto Sunrisers, were probably favourites going into that game. I thought we had a pretty strong squad and we were playing good cricket, but credit to the Miyauchi and the Hurricanes boys. They were fabulous in that final, weren't they? And they just had a few too many runs on the board, runs in the final.
Yeah.
And we weren't quite able to get across the line.
Yeah, they certainly looked good. So it was the first time win for them. It was, as you mentioned, first time winners in the Tuskers for the Japan Cup. So, new clubs, new teams, all making themselves known, all trying to show that their standards are improving year on year, which I guess is the main thing we asked for, right?
Absolutely. And a COVID-free season would be something else we could ask for.
Yeah, so I guess just looking ahead to next year, there was one thing that we had hoped to get off the ground and didn't manage to this year, which was the JCL T20. Plans to try and get that launched next year?
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll have much more time to fit this stuff in next year.
In theory.
Well, we've got an Omicron variant now. I don't know what we're going to have next year. So.
Yeah. Well, with any luck, we'll have, as I say, a full season. There's a fair bit going on the international stage as well. The men have got 3 different tournaments potentially. The women have got tournaments.
Some of these Japan boys would just be itching to play international cricket.
Well, it's been since December 2018 since they last got out in the park. So fingers crossed we'll have that going on as well. But yeah, there's a lot to... So I'm just watching the sprinkler there, just watering the covers. It's pretty good.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a lot to happen next year. Hopefully the JCL T20 can be organised at a time which will help the boys in the build up to some pretty big tournaments. There's the East Asia Pacific sub-regional qualifier where Japan will be up against the Philippines, Indonesia and the Korea Cricket Association. And the top 2 teams from that will go on to play the winners of the Pacific sub-regional qualifier. So hopefully the boys will be ready for that. And of course, there's the Asian Games as well, which will be taking place in September. We're yet to get the dates on the EAP, but we know that the 18th to the 24th of September will be the Asian Games. It'll be our first time that Japan have been involved in that since 2014. And it'll be the first time ever, I think, for the men if they do get to take part. So waiting to see a few more details about that, but fingers crossed the men can give a good account of themselves and we can get some players who've been itching to get that Japan shirt on a run out at last.
Itching to get the Japan shirt on. And also there's some unfinished business, I reckon, with some of these boys against Philippines, Indonesia and Korea. I reckon they want to have another crack at playing those 3 countries who are all great teams, great guys. Looking forward to just watching some of this cricket.
Yeah, it should be really good. All right, Dukes. Well, thank you for that. Before we let you go, there's a run of questions I like to ask all my guests. You got away with it last time, but I'm not letting you off so easily this time around. So, to begin with, some cricket-related questions. Can you tell me the best player you've played with or against? Firstly, anywhere, and then you can tell me in Japan.
Playing in Australia, the best player I played with was my old captain, Robbie Bartlett, who was just a gun batsman. He played for Victoria, actually, back in the day, and won a whole lot of medals playing club cricket in Melbourne. Great player. Best player I played against a lot of good players, but the guy who sticks in my memory is Glenn Maxwell, playing 2020 cricket against him. He was something else. Oh, my God. I didn't know who he was either. He came out and he pushed his first ball through covers for 3, like a defensive shot for 3. I think, hang on.
Time now, all right?
Let's come off the middle. And then he just started reverse sweeping and lapping and hitting bombs. I'm like, who is this guy? Yeah, he was pretty good. Yeah. Inside Japan?
Yeah.
Best player I played against is probably boring answer, but Sabarish Ravichandran is an impressive player, both with a bat and the ball, and his fielding's actually excellent as well. Best player I played with at the Sharks. Wow. Oh,
You can't name yourself, mate.
no, I wasn't about to name myself. I think some of the players I played with recently have been quality cricketers. So I'll name some of the younger guys on potential as much as anything. Takati and Ibi Takahashi have been very good, and the Jamaican Clamper Johnson was a really quality batsman as well. So I'll name some of the more recent players.
What's the best thing you've ever learned from a coach?
Wow. Yeah, let's put me on the spot. I should have done some preparation for these questions. It's an interesting one. Some players learn the game differently. I used to try to coach myself a little bit, which is probably a bad idea. My first coach was my grandfather, and he said, Dhugal, keep your elbow up. Keep your elbow up. So I used to end up playing these extravagant straight drives with my elbow as high as I could. But I guess that gave me a good grounding, and tried to play the ball as straight as possible as a youngster. So I'll say that.
Career highlight?
It's probably as a coach going to a World Cup.
Yeah.
It has to be.
I'm glad you said that. I would have been disappointed if you said. Is there any one loss that still particularly annoys you?
There are several losses that I had in club cricket in Melbourne that are going to haunt me for the rest of my life. But if you want me to say something about a loss in Japan, beat a few of those as well. I'd say the 2014 semi-final against Sano when I got run out, and we lost by about 15 runs.
Still haunts.
Yeah.
Funniest thing you've ever seen happen on a cricket field?
Wow. Yeah.
Doesn't actually have to be on the field. Marcus took this quite literally. It's like, it's going to be actually on the field. Kendall was talking about guys walking into the shower with all their kit on and stuff. So, all are around a cricket field.
I've seen, some of the funny stuff I've seen was back in Melbourne and involved players just demolishing their own equipment.
Yeah.
Once they get into the rooms.
It's always funny to watch someone just completely lose their mind.
I remember my first captain, I think at first 11 level in Melbourne was a fella called Warren Jeffries, and he used to be so hard on himself when he got out. He used to open the batting and more often than not score runs, but he got out. He used to go into the rooms away from everyone else and talk to himself for an hour, just berating himself. He used to say stuff like, you're just a fool. You're an idiot. You're a charlatan. You're a fake. What do you think you're doing? Like an hour. It was hilarious.
Possibly need some help. What's your favourite format of cricket?
Test cricket. And I know that's not the right answer. We're trying to make cricket a little bit shorter than possible, but I love it. And there's just something beautiful and poetic about watching a test match. That's how I grew up watching cricket, and I guess it's ingrained in me. I've never had a lot of my cricket that I played in Melbourne was 2-day cricket, which I used to love. I haven't played it in Japan, obviously. I got the opportunity to play one 4-day match, which was when I first joined my senior club in Melbourne. They just stuck me in the 5th 11. Can you imagine having 5 11s? So I was in the 5th 11. We made it to the final. For some reason in that competition, the final was a 4-dayer.
Crikey.
And it went the full 4 days.
Oof.
Yeah. So we actually made
2 weekends, I presume.
2 weekends, Saturday, Sunday.
Mm.
And we made about 500 in our first innings. And they made 200, followed on again or something like that. Anyway, we had to bat again. And we ended up getting about 5 or 6 down in the second innings. So,
Proper game of cricket.
wow, what a game. 4-dayer. Yeah.
Fantastic. Favorite teammate?
There've been some really, really hilarious players I've played with and funny guys. But, right now, my favorite teammate is the little man, Tsuyoshi Takeda, because he's single-handedly got us another ACL trophy. So I'll say him right now.
Where's your favorite place to play cricket?
One thing that kind of lives in my memory for a while was being selected to play for my school, and we toured England. We played 10 matches across England, playing at some of those beautiful schools in the countryside. So that's something I'd just love to do again one day. I haven't been back to England to play cricket for probably 25 years, so I'm about due. But there's something magical about those little grounds in the English countryside. Played it at one ground, which was in front of I think it was a 12th or 13th century castle. And that was the backdrop to playing cricket. So I'd love to do something like that again.
Yeah, there's a fair few of those dotted around the English countryside. Is there any stadium in particular that you'd really like to play at?
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to play at the home of cricket, Lords, of course. Some of those stadiums that dotted around the world. The one in South Africa, the
Newlands.
Yeah.
Table Mountain overlooking the
Yeah.
cricket.
Yeah, I just kind of watch these games on TV and thinking, wow, that'd be a dream to play there, wouldn't it?
Quite right.
Yeah.
Okay, tricky one for you. Can you name one innings or bowling performance played by someone else that you wished you could have played yourself?
Tsuyoshi Takeda's 80 again. That's Falcons in the bottle. Other than that, I don't know. I kind of just wish I was someone like Chris Gale who could just bomb sixes and make a living out of it. How much fun would that be? Just traveling the world, playing T20 franchise cricket, not really running between wickets much, just all fielding, bombing sixes. I wish I could do that.
Okay, now you've been in Japan a long time, so I'm expecting some good answers here, my Japan-specific questions. What is your favorite thing about Japan?
The Fuji Rock Festival.
Oh, it's a great answer. I miss it.
In August every year in Niigata. Yeah.
It's been a couple of years without.
It's just, 4 or 5 days of camping and music and beer. It's a wonderful time.
It's a wonderful time.
Recommend it.
Is there one place, or can you name one place that any visitor must go to? Apart from Fuji Rock.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of tourist attractions and going and just taking a photo of Tokyo Tower or whatever. So I would say just come on an evening out with me in Tokyo and I'll show you some good food, some good bars and a good time.
You just got to pay for your drinks. Favorite food?
Yeah, just the standard, Japanese. I love going around to the different ramen shops and sushi, sashimi, just trying it all. It's hard to pin it down to a favorite. Just try everything if you come here.
Is there any one food that you've had that was particularly disgusting? People eat some weird stuff over here.
Yeah, I'm kind of used to the weird stuff now, but initially when I got here, it was interesting. Like I wasn't used to, I'm like Shane Warne, just eat baked beans and sausages and that kind of stuff. So I came here and I think my first date with the Japanese girl, we went to an izakaya and she said, "What do you want to eat?" And I said, "Oh, just, whatever.
Use all the
You're
stuff.
Japanese, you choose the food, And the first thing she chose was pickled squid guts with chili. She's like, "Oh, that's great. Yeah, I just wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready for it." I still can't eat natto. I just can't.
I can't. No.
Can't do it. I don't know why.
All right. Favorite Japanese word or phrase and its meaning?
Sarumo ki kara ochiru. Means even monkeys fall from trees. It's just a good. I like that proverb. But the first pickup line I came up with, I learned was "Aishiteru kedo kekkon wa dekinai."
I love you, but I can't marry you.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard. Say that. Well, Dougal, thank you very much for coming on. It's been a fun one. It's pretty warm in here, isn't it? As we've been sitting in, I've generally delayered as the sun's come through the window. It's been a beautiful December morning. You're shortly due to depart these shores for a long overdue visit to your homeland.
Yeah, just get out of Japan for a bit. I haven't been back to Melbourne for 2 years, so yeah, got to see my mum.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, enjoy your break, and we're looking forward to another blockbuster season in 2022. I guess that's all that's left is for me to thank the listeners for tuning in for the long season of the Japan Cricket Podcast. I should probably thank all my guests who have made the show possible. If it wasn't for the people who have come on, I would have been here chatting by myself, so that wouldn't have been particularly interesting. So that's a wrap for the first season of the Japan Cricket Podcast. As always, if you can take the time to rate and review the show, I would be tremendously grateful. It would, as mentioned on every episode so far, make me feel a little bit better about myself. And as a thank you for your time and effort tuning in and listening to each of the episodes over the course of the year, I'm going to leave you with a special treat. Enjoy! Happy Christmas and yo-yo Toshio!
びっくりくりくりクリケット佐野市の名物サモンラーメン味よし揚げたて芋フライだけじゃない、だけじゃない、食べ物だけが名物じゃない、君はクリケットって知ってるかいびっくりくりくりクリケット世界にファンが10億人スタジアムには10万人びっくりくりくりクリケットこちら佐野市からお届けしております